Hello and welcome. This is Jennifer. So glad you're here. Now, I am over the top excited about today's video because a wish has come true for me, a crafty wish. For years, I have searched and searched for the trimmer that could fit all of my crafty needs, and I have finally found it. If you've watched my videos over many years, you know I have tried many different trimmers and hopped around between them. Lately, for the past few years, I've been using a smaller Tim Holtz trimmer, which is fantastic, but it's smaller. It doesn't cut the bigger pieces of cardstock. So whenever I needed to cut bigger pieces, I would have to go off screen to a bigger, awkward trimmer and do that. So my wish has finally come true, and Tim has delivered the most amazing trimmer. I know I seem over the top excited, but honestly, this is my job. I use a trimmer daily, and it's important that I have a good tool, so I am that excited about it. So I am going to show you today why I really like the Tim Holtz Rotary Media Trimmer. This is a new trimmer, and it solves all of my trimmer issues that I've ever had. I will start by talking about the features of the trimmer, then we will put it to use, and then I will compare it to other trimmers that you've seen me use in videos. This new Rotary Media Trimmer is a geared rotary trimmer. So the blade rotates as it goes and has gears inside to make sure it cuts straight every time and stays sharp. What I really like about this trimmer over other geared rotary trimmers I've used in the past is that it's heavy duty, but it's not heavyweight. So this is a lightweight trimmer that you can bring back and forth to your desk. I have invested in some really expensive rotary trimmers in the past that really need to stay put in one spot because they're so big and heavy. This one you can take wherever you need. However, there are strong supports in it, so you don't have to worry about like the bar warping or not getting a straight line every time. Also, other rotary trimmers weren't really designed with the crafter in mind. You'll notice that this one has lots of measurements and perks that work really well for card makers and crafters. The trimmer does include both imperial and metric rulers on it. There's one at the top, the middle, and the bottom. And this is the really cool part. There are 2 extendable arms so that you can measure out to over 12 inches on both the top and the bottom of the trimmer. This is a big plus for me. Some people like to cut along the top edge of the trimmer. Some people like to cut along the bottom edge. I like to cut along the bottom. I'll talk more about that later. But this does have 2 extendable arms. However, I also like that the trimmer itself on the base goes past 6 inches without those arms extended. So for most of the cutting I do as a card maker, I don't even need to use those arms. Now let's talk about the cutting mechanism itself. This is a rotary trimmer, so you can see there is a round blade in there that rotates as you move along this very strong bar. Now this is a highly durable blade for extended use. It stays sharp, but there will be these rotary blade carriages available for replacement if needed. Rotary trimmers are great because the blade rotates and it doesn't drag or tear the paper. And you can use this blade to cut through even heavy-duty chipboard, heavyweight cardstock, synthetic surfaces like UPO and acetate, and even lightweight things like vellum. Because of the strong bar on the top of the trimmer and on the underside, you can be sure that it will continue to cut straight. This is something that you see a lot in rotary trimmers, but usually they have a very heavy-duty base, which makes it cumbersome to use in a craft room. So you will be seeing me use this in videos because it's easy to pick up and bring to my work surface and set aside as needed. Next, I think it's best to do some cutting with this trimmer, and that will also demonstrate some of the other great things about it. First, you'll notice there is a clear piece across the trimmer that is to the left of the bar, and this is so you can hold your paper in place as you cut. You just slide the paper underneath it and hold there. Now, the cool thing is there's a little spring on this clear piece, so you can easily slide your paper underneath it until you're ready to cut, and you just put your hand down on it, and it'll hold it in place. So sometimes I use that clear piece, sometimes I don't. Just know that it is there and easy to slide cardstock underneath. Here I'm using the 1/4 inch grid marks on the base of the trimmer to cut 1/4 inch cardstock strips. Very fast and easy to do. You can do more narrow strips if you want to. It'll cut it nicely. One thing I should mention, I'm only demonstrating with heavyweight cardstock today, but you can use heavier weight items like chipboard. I just don't happen to use those type of products often, but do know that the rotary trimmer will work with it. Now the handle, or that black carriage that has the blade inside, is ergonomic and really easy to use. It very smoothly cuts in both directions. You just place your hand on it, and when your fingers are on the side of it, it automatically puts that carriage in place to do the cutting. It doesn't take any force, very smooth cutting. This is a notable difference over other really heavyweight rotary trimmers I've used in the past. Some of those require a little bit of muscle to even cut through one piece of cardstock. Now here I'm demonstrating that it will cut through 3 layers of heavyweight cardstock, but I prefer to do 2 at a time if I want to do bulk cutting. This is Neenah Classic Crest Solar White 110-pound cardstock, which is very heavyweight. I like to pre-cut this cardstock, as you see me doing here, so I have it ready to go as I craft, and I found it cuts through 2 layers beautifully. And remember, with this trimmer, there is a ledge at the top that you can cut against and at the bottom that you can cut against. Here I'm demonstrating at the top. There's a ruler there, so you can cut there if that's where you're most comfortable. Or if you're like me and prefer the bottom of a trimmer for some reason, there is a ledge and ruler there. Another nice thing about this trimmer is there is a bit of a ruler to the right of the cutting blade. It goes up to 1.25 inches. So say I want to cut an inch strip off of this piece of cardstock. I have 3 options I could use here. I can use the ruler up here on the top left and just move the edge of the cardstock over 1 inch. So here I'll just shift this over 1 inch following that ruler on the top left. Another thing I could do is use the grid on the base of it and just move it over 4 squares because each square is 1/4 inch. Or I can use that inch mark over on the right-hand side of the blade. So you have the 3 different options to cut these thin pieces. Now, since I'm a card maker, I thought it'd be good to demonstrate using the trimmer to create some note cards. So I will create A2 card sizes, that's 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches, and we'll do top folding and side folding. Let's start with the top folding first. I have a piece of 8.5 by 11 cardstock. I always like to score first. It's a big time saver. So I have my Altenew scoreboard here, and I'll place my cardstock into the corner of the scoreboard, and I'll score it in half at 5.5 inches. Now, usually I'll do a bunch of sheets like this. I will score them all at the same place, and then I do all of the cutting at once, but today I'm just doing the one. So I've scored at 5.5 inches, and now I will fold it in half and then reinforce that fold line. Now I'll take this to my trimmer and I will cut it at 4 1/4 inches. So I'll use that ruler right there along the bottom, and I can also use the grid lines to make sure it's straight. I'll use the trimmer, super easy to cut through it, and now I have 2 top folding note cards. So this is how I go about making card bases. I like to do a bunch at once, and I will definitely be using this rotary trimmer to do so because it cuts through that double layer beautifully. And by the way, it's a big time saver to do the scoring first, then the cutting. That way you don't have to score each individual piece. Now let's create some side folding note cards. I have an 8.5 by 11 piece, and I'm scoring at 4 1/4 inches. So that's right down the center in the other direction. I will then fold along that score line and reinforce it with my bone folder. I'll take this to my trimmer and I'll cut it right in half at 5.5 inches, and I do not need to extend the arm to get that measurement. Now I have 2 side folding note cards. So all the cards I created here are 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. Now that I've done an overview of the trimmer, let's do a comparison to the other Tim Holtz trimmers that are out there. And I will start with the medium-sized trimmer that I use the most, that I've used for years and you see me use in videos. This trimmer is one of my best friends in my craft room. I love it because it has the ledge on the top and the bottom. It has that sharp cutting blade, and it has those grid lines in the base for the 1/4 inch marks. Now, I use it all the time, and I will still continue to use it. The downfall of this trimmer is it doesn't cut a bigger piece of cardstock, like an 8.5 by 11. I can't cut it the long way because the trimmer isn't tall enough. So the advantage of the new trimmer is that I can cut those bigger sizes with it, but I still will get a great cut, and it's not something that is hard to bring to my work surface. The rotary trimmer also has the perk of the arms that extend, again, to cut bigger pieces of cardstock. And the rotary trimmer has that bit of measurement over to the right-hand side of the blade, whereas the guillotine trimmer on the right does not. I am able to cut through 2 pieces of heavyweight cardstock with both of these trimmers. However, I find it easier to hold the cardstock in place as I cut when I use the rotary blade. I will say that the rotary trimmer, the new one, does have a higher price point. That is common with rotary trimmers. I've spent up to a few hundred on a rotary trimmer in the past, so do know that. However, I do feel it offers all of the benefits that we need as a crafter, at least for me. If you are looking for a more economical trimmer, this one here on the right is definitely a good option. Keep in mind there is also an even smaller trimmer, like the one on the right, but smaller. It's the mini version. That is also available. I have it and really like it, but my daughter likes it even more, and she stole it and has it with her slime supply so she can cut labels for the slime that she makes. There is another guillotine trimmer from Tim Holtz that is bigger, that will cut those bigger pieces of cardstock. Now, I know a lot of people swear by this guillotine trimmer. However, I have always worked better with the smaller guillotine trimmer than this large arm. Not sure why, but this does cut very well, and it has a handle that you can remove and put in the base. And it does have an extendable arm, but I lost my arm. That's how much of a hot mess I am. Now, what's cool is the size and the weight isn't much different between these 2 trimmers. So you have the rotary on the left where the blade rotates, and on the right you have that big arm that cuts. If you prefer a guillotine trimmer like this where the blade drops, I do recommend Tim Holtz guillotine trimmers. They stand the test of time. They've been used for many years, but I'm so glad he is offering the rotary trimmer option now. And here, I just wanted to do a size comparison between the 2, very close in size and weight. So there you have a closer look at this rotary media trimmer. Now, I really, truly am excited about it because this is something that I've needed for some time, and I've never found the perfect tool for me. I've been using this for a while off screen, and I am really happy with it. So I just wanted to recommend it to you if you also are in need of a new trimmer. But keep in mind, everybody has different preferences on what types of tools they use. I'm hoping that the comparisons I did today will be helpful to you. And if I think of additional things about this trimmer that I want to share, I will put them in the pinned comment below this YouTube video. I have links and more information in my description below, and stay tuned for future videos where I'll be putting this trimmer to action. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.